this year. I think they're going to get caught once they start feeling good about themselves. But we'll see how it goes. Let's move on to here's a good one. Well, potentially could be a good one. You know, Texas has been playing better. Cal could start to take off a little bit maybe here if they get a win over Texas. You know, do you see Texas turning the corner? Are they going to start building on something here and move in to actually compete with Oklahoma? And what does Cal really have this year?
You know, I don't know if this game is going to say anything for either team. I mean, that win against Notre Dame was a big one for Texas and the program moving forward, and kind of asserting their position that they are possibly a contender in that Big 12. I mean, when we think about last year, you know, Cal was kind of the temporary cure for Texas. You know, they racked up 650 total yards and yet still lost to Cal. So, I mean, a lot's changed. Texas has the new offensive coordinator. Cal has now got David Webb, the Texas Tech transfer, who's thrown for 963 yards in 2 games. So for Texas, they've got to be able to prove to string a couple of impressive wins together, back to back like that, you know, and kind of keep that and keep it going. And Cal's got a dangerous offense, and they kind of look similar. So if Texas has changed and they do beat Cal, who did lose to San Diego State, by the way.
Right.
Hashtag called it.
Called it.
Yeah. You know, then Texas is an actual contender in the Big 12, and DC3PO thinks the same as well in this game, and has Texas at 69.2% win probability with the Texas 33, California 26.
All right, there you go, Longhorns. Big game in, you know, for the, let's call it the NFC North region area, with Notre Dame and Michigan State playing this weekend. You know, the Irish, they need to bounce back. They need to have a strong performance. Michigan State beating Notre Dame always seems to pump them up and give them some momentum. Do the Irish have what it takes to get over on Michigan State this week?
Well, it's a good thing to see this come back, because this rivalry has offered plenty of drama, and it's a huge early game for both. And 50 years ago, they played one of the most famous games ever, where the Spartans were number 2, the Irish were number 1. A tie would only benefit one of them, and Notre Dame played very conservatively down the stretch to end the game 10-10, which then Notre Dame beat USC the next week and claimed the number 1 spot in the AP coaches poll, despite undisputed seasons from both Michigan State and Alabama. So there's that tension, and it's awesome to think about the history of that. And you know, this game's going to probably be decided by the matchup of Notre Dame's QB Kaiser. He took the job from Malik Zaire, and if you saw that Texas game, it was obvious who the quarterback should be. And Michigan State's defense, you know, they seem to be improved in the secondary, but maybe vulnerable to the big plays against the kind of aggressive offense that the Irish run. You got to wonder about Torrey Hunter Jr. and his head injury in the Texas game to see if he's going to come back. If so, that's a big boost. And so it should be a good game. It should be close. DC3PO has that at Notre Dame, a win probability of 67.5%. Notre Dame winning the game 31, Michigan State 25.
All right, Irish fans, DC3PO, he's looking out for you. He's got your side. Upset. Let's talk about your upset game now. Miami versus Appalachian State. Tell us why this is your upset game this week.
Well, why did Miami schedule a road game to Boone, North Carolina? You know, I don't understand that. I mean, it's got to be one of the most confusing road trips ever scheduled by a Power 5 team. I mean, that stadium in Appalachian State is going to be packed. I mean, they won 11 games last year. You know, a couple of more bounces. They could have beat Tennessee on the road in week 1. They've got an experienced QB, Taylor Lamb. You know, they've got a nice defensive line, especially for a Sun Belt team. I mean, in other words, Miami should win, and this is a regrettable road trip for the Hurricanes. who's probably going to get all they can handle against the Mountaineers, because Miami's still a mystery. You know, with 2 weeks under Mark Richt, I mean, what do you know about Miami beating Florida A&M and Florida Atlantic? I mean, Brad Kaya is a good quarterback and all, and it comes down to talent and athleticism of Miami. It shouldn't even be close, but I think it's going to be close, and the teams should really pray that they're going to escape Boone with the win, regardless of the score. But I don't. It's too hard for me to say. I mean, I would go all the way on Appalachian State if I'm going to lay money down on it. And DC3PL says that Appalachian State has a 66.9% win probability and beats Miami 27-21.
I can see the Mountaineers taking this one for sure. They've been playing much better, especially against top competition over the last several years. And like you said, being at home, that stadium's going to be packed. They're going to have the initial energy and momentum on their side. And if they take advantage of it, if Miami comes in a little too full of themselves, thinking, oh, they're below us, I could see Miami getting caught.
Yeah, this isn't the Miami of old where, you know, these kind of games, you just didn't do it. I mean, you even mentioned that they had the possibility of losing or not covering, and they'd come out and just smoke them.
Right.
That's not Miami anymore.
No, it is not. Look out, Hurricanes. This game, you know, I paid attention to this game earlier this week because it is your sleeper game of the week. It was the Houston-Cincinnati game, and I thought you had it picked. I thought Cincinnati was going to sneak up on them. They had the late lead going into the fourth quarter, and then, I mean, wow. Gary Ward Jr. He just decided to start playing? 4 touchdowns? 40-12 win? What happened there?
Yeah, I mean, it was ugly for a while. You know, Houston just kept trying to do what they wanted to do. They shoot themselves in the foot. They didn't get a lot out of that offense. Ward wasn't his best, you know, but these are some of the things that you got to do after that, euphoric high of beating Oklahoma, a league game on the road. That might be just what they needed, just to, you know, keep that pull going. You know, they haven't been ranked this high since they were number 3 since 1990. So, I mean, Cincinnati, you're seeing the decline, but, I mean, again, that's a tough road win, and that keeps Houston in the mix.
For sure.
Watch out for Western Michigan as well today.
Really? Who do they have today?
I don't remember who they have. I know I talked about it in the post on Friday for college football. But I really like Western Michigan's chances. I mean, I think it might come down to Houston and Western Michigan for that Power 5 Cotton Bowl bid if they maintain and keep doing what they're doing.
All right. Well, there you go.
I love that MAC.
Yeah, they sure do. Now, we're going to get into a couple things right now, specifically for you as an LSU fan, that I noticed throughout the week that are being reported. Let's talk about this one that leads to the NFL. In week 1, LSU had the most alumni on NFL teams with 42 players on NFL rosters in week 1. The next closest was 6 less. Florida State had 6 less, and USC had 6 less. Does that just make an LSU fan like puff his chest out and go, "Yep, that's us. That's us. Y'all just watch what we do"?
Well, let me answer it that way. That's 2 years in a row. The other way to answer it is that it shows why Les Miles is on the hot seat.
Okay.
I mean, when we have the skill positions, especially being defensive back university or DBU, and the skill positions in wide receiver and running back, how are we not always competing and beating Alabama?
Good point.
I mean, I'm not saying that we should be beating them every year. That's absurd. But we should have at least 2 victories in the last 6 years. And if we would have got any kind of quarterback play, we should have probably won that 2011 championship. I mean, I don't think that's scarred over. That wound's still fresh. But that's the thing that LSU fans are still pointing at. Is since that 2011, there has been nothing changed or done in regards to that. And you look at Alabama with Jalen Hurts. I mean, that's a true freshman quarterback.
Yep.
He's going against Ole Miss, and he's got a chance to win. But Danny Etling starts today, so that's a new era. So, but yeah, the NFL. Yeah, we kind of. I don't think it means as much because we haven't won anything.
Right. I like your perspective on it, though. That idea that this is why the coach is being called out. This is why the fans, are starting a petition to buy out his contract. Look at all of the talent we continue to send to the league that are starting on rosters, but we're not seeing the same results here. So the other thing we got that looked pretty cool, that when I saw this, I was like, all right, I got to talk to Chris about these uniforms. They rolled out some new uniforms that they're planning on wearing against Mississippi State. Have you seen these uniforms? And if you have, what do you think of the color scheme and, everything they got going on in these uniforms?
Yeah, those gold jerseys are what used to be worn in the 50s and earlier and stuff like that. And the helmets were worn from, I believe, 51 to definitely 71 before they changed to what they are now. Mm-hmm. And a lot of Tiger fans don't like change, especially when it comes to the uniform. I mean, there was a time where remember Jerry DiNardo? He chose to wear the purple jerseys against an SEC opponent, and people lost their mind. And because you're supposed to wear white at home, but to see the gold jerseys, I remember in '97 when they last wore them against Notre Dame in the bowl game, when Kevin Falk was there, and that takes me back to '97 where LSU beat number 1 Florida, and that was the first time that LSU had beaten the number 1 team at home ever, and it's one of the greatest games that I still remember. I still have the Sports Illustrated magazine from that day in October. I have the Kevin Falk actual jersey from LSU.
Oh, wow.
From that season, and the gold's a little different because it's got the little purple on the shoulders. Mm-hmm. I've always liked the white helmets with the purple LSU logo that they've worn against Arkansas a couple of times.
Right.
I don't care necessarily. Show me that we're going to beat Mississippi State, please.
That's the most important thing right there, right? Let's get the win. Yeah. Let's get that W.
Right.
All right.
You got to wear a white helmet to do that, then fine.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Just get the W when it comes down to it. Let's go ahead and play for the championship. Let's rack up these regular season wins. I would love to see LSU play for the SEC title this year, and get into the playoff and really make some noise there. And I say that because they are such an athletic team, and they always do have so many playmakers. It's great to watch them play football. Thanks for calling in, Chris. I appreciate you and the Dirt Cannon DC3PO putting out those predictions for us. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Later.
All right. That was Chris Rupert from thedirtcannon.com calling in to give us a little more knowledge and help us out with our college football Saturday. Really appreciate everything he does for us every weekend. It's just awesome. It's great to talk to him. It's great to talk that college football game. Let's get back into some of the other things going around in sports now before we hit our NFL preview. We last were talking about the Bills firing their offensive coordinator. This is a team that we're going to talk about here. They're not going to fire anybody anytime soon. They are on fire right now. They have the best record in Major League Baseball. Yes, that is your Chicago Cubs. This is a team, it's definitely on my bucket list to go to Wrigley Field. I would love to catch a Chicago Cubs game. I've never been to a Cubs game. But I'm impressed with what Theo Epstein is doing there in Chicago. I am not surprised by it at all. This is a guy moving over from the Red Sox. We all know what he was able to accomplish there and what the Red Sox are still doing after he has left because of the groundwork and the stuff he did while he was there to turn their corner and make them into a championship organization again. I had the feeling he would do the same thing with the Cubs. Now, they're not quite all the way there yet. They have quite a bit of work left to do. It's still the regular season. You still have to go in and